And I can't believe at least 3/4 of them would say things like, well, you should be dead. People who've gone through that, there's no way. And I just look at them, and I, even at that young, already knew something was wrong there. And I just say, I know you mean probably something helpful to me when you say that, but please don't ever say that to anybody. Instead, say, wow, are you resilient?
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
It's time for Life Interrupted Radio, a show dedicated to practical skills for your mind, body, and soul. We're hoping we'll go in one ear and stay there. Here's the host of the show, Sharon Saylor.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. The NIH estimates nearly 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder. To put that in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million, and heart disease up to 22 million. You'll be as surprised as I was to find out what autoimmune entails. I brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and oh my goodness, it's my pleasure to be with you here again Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, like always. It's the start of my weekend. I hope it's the start of yours. You know, seasons are changing now. I love this time of year where the seasons change and all of that. I so enjoy that. I haven't quite seen the leaves change or anything yet, but I can feel it in the night air. That's so wonderful. And speaking of night air, I've got one of my favorite jasmine green teas with me right now, and I just love it. It's one of those, the jasmine smell. I've said this about a few of my other teas, that you just sort of want to smell the tea bag more than drink the tea. But it is a great tea, so I'm going to be enjoying that tonight. As well as we have a return guest on. I am so thrilled to have Dr. Anita Sanchez on again tonight. Oh my gosh, I'll have to ask her. Maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago, something like that. I had her on the show. She was sharing with us the 4 sacred gifts. And let me give you her bio, because it's just really awesome. Dr. Anita Sanchez is a powerful visionary woman of Mexican-American and Indigenous Aztec heritage. She has over 38 years woven with Indigenous wisdom, business, and science into her global consulting and training. She trains around the world with corporate leaders and their teams. She also guides journeys into the Amazon rainforest with the Pachamama Alliance to learn about their connection to spirit, earth, and indigenous peoples, as well as building understanding of the importance of preserving the indigenous cultures of all of us. And I think that is just fantastic and awesome. You might be saying, so Sharon, how does that relate from healing of autoimmune? It relates in so many ways. You're just going to wait till you have to hear Anita tell us in all the ways it relates. Last time she blew us away. This time we're going to talk about her brand new book, The 4 Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times. So welcome, Anita. How are you today?
No, I'm doing wonderful. It's a really good week having my book come out, and it's especially nice to be back with you.
Oh, I'll tell you, I know it came out on Tuesday, so bravo, #1 bestseller. Congratulations. How exciting.
It is. It's wonderful. All the people just so interested in wisdom rather than just more information. The heart and our minds are just hungering for wisdom.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, what I love about your book is it really is tangible. I think that's the word I want to use. As I was reading it, it wasn't, I'll say, so lofty that I couldn't understand it. You make it where everybody can just read it and go, oh, I get it. And that's what I loved about it, because you have the 4 guiding gifts that illuminate people's true purposes and talk about healing the past, deepening relationships, and inspiration and leadership. So I loved all of those. One of the ones I wanted to pull out first was, though, because we've talked about it on the show with other guests, is healing the past. Let's talk about that, because I found that with some of my other guests, they talk about how previous traumas, whether they're to our lives or I'll just say our familial lineage type of line, that a lot of those traumas can actually play out in physical symptoms. So let's talk about how the four sacred gifts look at the topic of heal the past.
Oh, definitely. They're all interrelated. The elders from 27 different elders from all over the world, through spirit, came together and put those four gifts in there. And it was for all humankind, indigenous people and non-indigenous, to be able to be full, holy, happy human beings. And so it is all about the gift of healing is a wonderful thing, because it's not like a one-time thing. You just continue and continue and continue using that gift of healing.
So describe to us how we integrate the gift of healing into our everyday life.
Yes. Okay, so healing, first of all, from an indigenous perspective, when we think of healing, we don't think immediately of a pharmaceutical counter, although I'm not at all negating that, because it's important in our healing process to draw on the wisdom, all the different gifts that are here. But when we think of healing, as the elders teach us, it's about good medicine. It's about being in right relationship, connecting and aligning everything from the spiritual, emotional, psychological, and physical level. And those are all connected. And we know not only from traditional wisdom keepers around the world, but we know from modern science that is also true. The cost on us of stress and holding in anger and all those things, what they do in terms of our digestive system, in terms of our health, our organs. I mean, just so much, and shortening our lives. So the whole point is for us to be, these gifts are to help us be in right relationship with ourselves, with other people, and with the earth, and with spirit itself.
Yes, and one thing that I was fascinated about, though, is this idea of, well, my words here, the unconscious biases and beliefs and things that we carry around with us that can keep us stuck, that keep us from using that gift or any of the other gifts. So let's chat a little bit about this idea of how do we become more aware, I guess, would be the words that I would want to use.
Yes, I think we do have to slow down enough so that we are aware of what our mindsets are, what we're thinking. So I think one of the fundamental things that we need in using all these gifts is to listen. And that is to really listen to ourselves, listen to others, listen to nature. Because when we listen, then we can become aware of what is. And so I can hear what are my thoughts, what are those biases that might pop up of what is occurring. So that listening, I think, is just sort of one of the basic steps for the healing process. I believe there are four, but fundamental to all the gifts, and clearly with healing, is to listen.
You know, listening's not always so easy, though. I find that sometimes when you surround yourself with your friends, usually your friends are pretty much like-minded, and I can find you can sometimes get stuck in what I call this listening loop. You know, you're all saying the same thing, all agreeing to the same thing. And what I loved about your book is it takes that farther into this idea of listening to all, not judging, listening. And I love that idea of this openness to listen to it and then be able to balance it.
Yes. A big part of my work is creating effective teams, communities, not only honoring our similarities, but as you said, honoring our differences. And that means really listening to what that is. Because what I have found is that when we really listen, we're able to find those similarities, but we're even able to find ways to stand together on some basic values, even if we have differences in terms of being, for example, Republican, Democrat, Independent. There are these things that unite us, and one of them is we want to be healthy. We want our children to have healthy lives and good relationships. I mean, there's some very basic things. So that listening, I think, first starts with paying attention to our breath. And if we pay attention to our breath, we will know whether we're breathing, where we're getting oxygen through our whole body, whether it's going at a fast pace, what is happening. And for me, and many traditions I'll teach that, and many indigenous ones they do, is pay attention to the breath, what's going on. Rather than pointing outside, you're doing this to me, like, what is happening inside of me? So listening with your heart and the softest part of your ear. allows us to really be present to ourselves, first and foremost.
I find that so fascinating because in my body language work, in my other world where I'm doing my corporate work and communications work, one of the first things I tell people about body language is monitor how you're breathing. A lot of the first impressions people get, people think, oh, it's because I was standing with my arms crossed or something like that. I said, no, they judged you on how you were breathing. Isn't that fascinating that even back into the ancient wisdoms, they're talking about the beneficial basic factor of breathing? I find that fascinating.
Yeah, no, I think it's true too. I find it fascinating too because as we breathe, it can quiet our mind. I mean, we're spiritual beings in these physical bodies, and so one of the things these physical beings are wanting to survive, and we're really good at detecting threat. The problem is we're detecting threat where there's not even threat anymore because we're just so moving at such a fast pace. So when we breathe, when we allow the really deep inhale and exhale and just really pay attention, and it allows that amygdala, that part of our brain, to settle down, allows more blood flow to the frontal cortex, it's the front part of your brain, which is where our planning, our thinking, that where we can connect, where we can do strategy and co-create, all those wonderful things. So that breathing, I don't know about you, but I remember being told a lot of things were just involuntary, and breathing was involuntary. It's like, but wait a minute, now we're learning, no, digestion isn't even involuntary. Well, all these things we called involuntary, we actually have a lot of control over them on how we want those to operate. And that is what a big connection to us having a healthy, long life, healthy organs, healthy skin, all of that matters in terms of the oxygen. That is the base of life.
And I think that's so important. I'm glad you brought up this idea about the idea of voluntary. I think because we're born doing it, we don't pay it much attention. It's like, oh yeah, that's just the way it is. We don't think about, can I optimize it? Can I enhance it? How do I make sure I'm doing it in a way that's most beneficial to me?
Exactly. But when you said that, the media, when I help people learn how to breathe, especially as they get caught up at work or in the community where, some difficult things are happening or their interface with government, is like, think of a baby breathing. Visualize that. And what do you see?
Oh, their whole belly goes up and down.
You got it. Their whole bodies, their stomachs, they're not holding it tight. They're breathing fully, and it's smooth and gentle, and we've just tied all that up, and it's like, start breathing like that. And there are times, I don't want to negate the times when you're, if you're getting sleepy in a car, that's the best time to do that kind of fast, short breath. That'll wake you up. You don't need caffeine. You can wake up that way. Again, though, go back to that life-giving where you have the smooth flow of the inhale and the exhale with your whole body, like the baby.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we have to understand about breathing is also when we talk about the nervous system and the vagal nervous system, which is part of the fight or flight mechanism, is honestly, as you said, there are times we want to breathe high and rapid. If we are in danger, it's the fight or flight mechanism is a good thing. It's only when it gets stuck on, when you're at home and you're safe and you know that you matter in that environment and all of that. Sometimes people get that little mechanism stuck on. And I found that just sitting down and paying attention to your breathing can often shift that to the off position. But you have to be aware. Oftentimes you don't realize that it's stuck on, but you might feel slightly agitated or a little bit angry or something like that. You're like, what's going on? Check your breathing.
It's a big one. And I'm thinking as a Mexican, Native American, Aztecan woman whose history was one of early, you see as a little girl growing up in the Midwest, the kinds of mistreatments to people because of the color skin. I could see nothing other than the different color skin, why they were treated differently. And then the death of my father when I was 13, which was racially motivated. Well, given all of that, and even though I was taught to love and care about people, and my mom was really clear, oh my gosh, she sat us down after the murder of my father and said, a white man killed your father, not the white race. She also showed us the newspaper in Kansas City and said, now, look, your father's there in a pool of blood. If a white person ever died in Kansas City, this is in the 60s, they would never show the violence. But whenever it was a person of color, it was right on the page there for everyone to see. And she said, this is what we have to change, is this systemic kind of hatred. So she would teach us to be careful. But what that all told me, again, I got to look at my mindset. When I went off and started training, teaching in the corporate world, I had to really look at the armor. I realized my breathing a lot of times was shallow because I had this body armor on to make sure that no one was going to hurt me. And it took practice, Sharon. It took practice in listening to not only the other people of color, but the many white people in the corporations who were saying and behaving in very different than what I and my little girl mind assumed, that all of them were going to hate people of color. All of them were taught. And many of the people in the corporate America will say, my parents did teach bias. They did teach prejudice. However, I don't agree with that. I love my parents, but I'm not doing that. And I can see. And so as that young trainer out there in the corporate world decades ago, that began to allow me to see my own mindset and say, wait a minute, I can choose to change this. And it does not serve me to have armor up, because it not only keeps out the bad stuff, it keeps out the good stuff too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, my goodness. Unfortunately, we need to take a quick commercial break on that note. I want to get back, and when we get back with Dr. Anita Sanchez, we're going to be talking about gift of forgiving the unforgivable. And thank you for sharing that, Anita. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Do you want to be a better leader? Have better relationships? Become more self-aware? Be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Saylor, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSaylor.com/radio gift.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
I am Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and today we're talking to Dr. Anita Sanchez. She's a powerful visionary woman who is got the brand new bestseller out called The Four Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times. It's absolutely a lovely book, and so far Dr. Sanchez has been sharing with us the gift of healing, and we were talking about breathing. And before we had to take that hard break there, Anita was sharing with us about the death of her father and how she learned to overcome some biases that she found in others and herself, which I think is a really nice segue, because I so enjoyed your section, The Gift of Forgiving the Unforgivable. That, to me, was very powerful section. Even just the title alone got me intrigued, like, how do you do that? So share with us that gift as well.
Well, forgiveness is a gift because it is our natural state to be free, to be open, to be loving, to be able to receive and give. And what happens if we're holding on to anger, hurt, mistreatment, whether just at an individual level or some of the big hurts and mistreatment that have happened collectively to whole groups of people, what it does is it ends up becoming a part of you. It's the illusion of separateness is what I call it in my book. And that's what I was speaking about before, that I literally felt like I was wearing body armor so that other people wouldn't hurt me. Mm-hmm. In this case, it was about across race. And that so forgiving the unforgivable, the real draw is not about the other person, it's about yourself. And that you love yourself enough that you want to be as fully happy and live in harmony, and that just can't happen if you're holding on to all of this anger, hurts, resentment, imprisoned by what didn't happen or did happen that should have been different. It's about moving on, but not forgetting.
That's a great point. The visual of body armor, we can take so many ways besides someone's race or ethnicity. I'm thinking about anyone who's ever gone through a trauma. Are they carrying some sort of body language, body armor around? But body language too. Often body language shows your body armor. But I'm thinking about how whatever trauma it was, regardless of how it happened, we do begin to build up layers of body armor on us. And I have talked to some people recently, and I was surprised by one of the things they said on a misunderstanding of another concept of the law of attraction, and somehow they thought they had attracted their autoimmune condition. And I found that fascinating, this idea of attracting things to us. But then again, when we look at body armor, whether that's attracting or repelling is another interesting thought that I'm having about what body armor are we wearing? And is sitting down and really seriously taking stock of what body armor are we wearing. I'm not going to say if, because maybe there's somebody that's gone through that is lucky enough not to have body armor, but I just love that whole thing. You just got me off on a whole new rabbit hole here, Anita.
No. I was just listening because I've had all of those thoughts, and just because you heal and you forgive the unforgivable, it doesn't mean that you're done. We're human beings, so it comes up again. So sometimes I've never put all the armor fully on again, but there are sometimes, all of a sudden I can feel it. It's like, I'm putting. So what's going on, Anita? What are you sensing here? Is that true danger here? If so, exit may be the good strategy. What's happening here? And oftentimes that's when illumination happens, where I get to see my mindset of what's going on. The real barometer for me in the forgiving the unforgivable is that, am I in alignment? Am I being good medicine to myself, to other people, to the earth? And if something's going off, which basically shows up in my body first. Some people may see it outside of themselves first, but nonetheless, just to become aware of that by really paying attention, then you can address it. And so the thing I think is hard for forgiveness is that people have such distorted views of what it is. And forgiveness is really about releasing energy to love yourself. That's why you forgive. Releasing ourselves from the prison.
Say that again. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's forgiveness really is about releasing energy so that we can love ourselves and love others more fully. And that we can no longer have to spend energy. We only have so much energy. I'm sure everybody listening just has so many things have to do. Like, wouldn't you like to have more energy for what you want to create rather than holding on to these other things? And this is another point that's really important on this, because I thought, oh gosh, if I was going to forgive all these things around racial hatred or forgive things around abuse that I endured as a woman, as a young girl, is that somehow it meant that I didn't care about justice, or I didn't care about my people, or that I lacked confidence, or that I was forgetting the hurt or mistreatment. All those things I just said is what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness means that you're just not staying locked in the righteousness of the pain and the hurt. The insidious illusion that these pains and hurts are my identity. I used to think, Sharon, that my well of pain was so huge and overflowing, I could hardly see this itty-bitty well of joy. And when I began to forgive the unforgivable and use all those gifts of healing, that armor started coming down. I started to be in better, loving relationship to myself, to other people. You know, I could still see the hurt and suffering and the things that were there that needed to be corrected. But boy, I had a whole lot more allies and accomplices in nature and in human beings to help create what I want, which is a world that is in harmony, that we're caring for each other. And that is a huge gain, to live life that way, to use my energy to create that life, rather than holding on and being stuck in this well of pain.
Oh, wow. And you know what just came to me, and this is what I love when you and I chat, Anita, what just came to me was this gift, that holding on, that not forgiving, is sort of a sucking in energy, where the other, when you're forgiving, it's a moving out energy. It's a expansive, where the other one is shrinking. I find that just had that image when you were telling me this, was sort of this black hole. You know, I'm thinking of the black holes in space where things just kind of suck in and disappear, was when we hold on to this stuff. But when we are actually able to care about ourselves again and let loose of the body armor and move to that larger place of forgiving ourselves and others, it becomes very expansive.
It's very expansive. And then that energy can be used to seek justice, but seek justice in a way that it's about creating more care and love, rather than, I'm going to get retaliation, because hurt only causes more hurt.
Right.
Suffering causes more suffering. And so when we use that energy to create just systems, environments, modeling love, all of those things. So I don't want to underestimate your listeners in the kinds of things that are coming to their mind and heart about what might be unforgivable for them. What I do appeal to is that wisdom deep inside of each and every being, that they are worthy of unconditional love. They are worthy of freedom. And there is a path to that. And that's why the elders gave us these 4 gifts. And this forgiving the unforgivable, like you, Sharon, so many people, we rarely get to talk beyond that, because there's that is so powerful, because it's calling to us all over the world. I've given these where people go, oh my gosh, that hit so hard. That means there's something there for me. And I go, yes. And you have everything you need to deal with that. You have everything within you, and then all those people and nature around you that will help you to release that negative energy so you can be happy and whole and create what you want. That's life-giving.
Wow. Let me take a nice deep breath there, Anita. That is powerful. Needed to breathe. I found myself sort of holding my bated breath on every word there for a minute. Wow, that is so powerful. Both of those gifts, the gift of healing and the gift of forgiving the unforgivable, amazing. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the gift of unity. And that's also, I love all four of these gifts. I don't really have a favorite, but I sort of put them in this order for today's show, but know that that's just my preference, not anything else. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break with Dr. Anita Sanchez and more about her beautiful book, The Four Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
What are all the things you witness online in a day? Cats playing piano, selfies on your feed, your friend's picture being turned into a nasty meme that's been shared 50 times, 51, 52. When someone's being bullied online, it's hard to know what to do. Now you can speak up with the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com. And today we're here with Dr. Anita Sanchez, and she just has released a brand new #1 international bestseller. Woohoo! Bravo, Anita.
Thank you.
And I'm so thrilled for you because we were talking, I'm trying to think last time you were on Life Interrupted Radio, probably 18 months, 2 years ago, something like that now, which is far too long. We were talking about some of these gifts and so many other things, and I'm so thrilled that you've taken and put this all together in a book that can be shared and way beyond the reach of our podcast and other ways that you used to share it. I'm just so thrilled. And so far we've been talking about the gift of healing and the gift of forgiving the unforgivable. I'd like now to share a little bit about the idea of the gift of unity. A lot of times people don't understand that word either. It's sometimes we need to be reminded. So tell everybody what the gift of unity is.
Well, I love the gift of unity. I love all four of them, but this one hits a particular at the core of my heart. Because since I was a little girl, listening to the Indigenous elders share about how we are all one, that we are all precious relations. And what that means basically that to be a whole human being, to be happy and live in harmony, means to know and understand the connection to yourself, to other people, to the earth and spirit. And so when you are living like that, you call on that, then you're never alone. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't get lonely. Everybody gets lonely. However, you're not alone. That's an illusion. The separateness is illusion. Everything is here. We have such abundance. And so when we consciously call on that, it's amazing what we're able to create. And just walking around, we're already using it. I mean, you and I couldn't be breathing except that we had the trees clean the carbon. You know, we have someone who planted some seeds that we were able to eat our meals earlier today or yesterday, that we're able to be in chemical balance because we have this nutrition. So everything and everything. I mean, our parents who gave us life, just all the things in which we do really nothing alone, that illusion of separateness. So to call on unity is a really very, very core, powerful gift that when you use this, it means that you're in gratitude. You can't not be in gratitude. Like, wow, I woke up, it's another great day, and the sun is here, or it's cloudy, or it's raining, or snowing. Oh my gosh, isn't this great? And that's just being, what's unity about is that circle, to know that we're part of this great whole of people, earth, and spirit.
I'm thinking of some people I know that live in other cultures that is much more every day. That is part of their culture that they share all the time. And then here in the States, I'll say the overriding part of that is pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or something. It's very individualized. So sometimes it's hard to understand what the power of the gift of unity is when a lot of your early beliefs were about self-individualization and take care of yourself and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and whatever all of those crazy
I think you're tapping right into it, Sharon, because the thing I love about indigenous worldviews, and there are other traditions that have this too, but one of the things I really love about it, no matter where you go, it's like, no, it's not about hierarchical, this thing is better than this thing and better than this thing or person. It's rather we're all one human family. And that gives us such ability to hold on to the I, the me matters, and so does the we. The universe doesn't work in just the me, it works in the we. So it's being able to hold on to both of those rather than, you're right, in some cultures and traditions, it's the I. It's doing it alone. It's the hero story. They did it all alone. And think about that. Even my book, Sharon, I was saying to some people, this is my first solo author book. I'm so excited. And as that came out of my mouth, every time it's like metal in my mouth. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I had 43 elders who brought their wisdom that helped me bring this book. I had my family who allowed me to just not let down on all the other things I needed to be doing in my house and my business so that I could be here in laughter and tears and just being as authentic, putting everything out that I could in the book to help other people to live this unity. So it really is a wonderful thing when we can hold on to both the me and the we. That means that we can create this harmonious relationship between people, earth, and spirit.
And what I love about you, Anita, when you and I chat, I don't know why, but metaphors come to my mind just freely when you and I chat. I just love that. And the metaphors you were talking about there was somehow I saw a little seed and I saw a little tree, and then all of a sudden it was a great big forest. And I'm like, yep, the seed is an individual turned into a tree, and it couldn't be a forest if it wasn't for that individual seed that became an individual tree. And I'm like, the beauty of a forest, and yet also the beauty of that individual tree that started with one little seed. And I don't see, whenever I'm near you, these metaphors just pop into my mind.
Well, you just honored me by saying that, because that means that's the way you think in terms of all the connections. And that's really how I go through my days too. It's just, wow, when people are, a lot of times I'm going into businesses because there are problems in separateness, or even in my own family, or even in my own heart, where they're starting, like, where is the connection here? Where is the life-giving good medicine that I could take here or give here? And it changes everything. So you're right. It's to be able to hold on that. So rather than saying, well, you've got the wrong mindset about the I. It's all about the we. Well, it's about all of it. It's like, put down your smartphones. This technology stuff is all bad. We need to be just back in nature. Well, you know what? It's about all of it. We've got to hold on to it. Now, hold on to it and take the life-giving parts and the things that are causing suffering, then we got to let go of and repair. But it's about, hold on, we're quite amazing beings, this universe of ours, with the help of nature and all the other people, and spirit is on our side. And when I say spirit, Sharon, I mean that can mean different things, but something just greater. And some people call it God, some Allah, some of it's universe energy, Buddha, evolution, consciousness. Whatever that is that understanding that that is about abundance, about more than enough, that we are sufficient, all of that. And in that power of unity, in having that together, it's, I don't know what to say. In Spanish, be la familia, it's like the spinal cord. It's so good. And Indigenous, it's all my precious relations, the Lakota, all my relations. And I can't help, like right now talking to you, I'm just a smile from ear to ear, from my heart to my head. It's just a wonderful thing to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And understanding that you don't lose yourself when you accept others and become part of the greater community. I too, in my work, I'm always talking about the community of the teamwork. And each person is individual, and they each bring a unique thing that makes the community stronger. When I'm working with teams, we are oftentimes spending time, what is each individual's gifts that they bring to make this team stronger? A lot of times people say, well, what is my role? And maybe, usually more often than not, their role does not reflect the gifts that they bring.
You've got that right.
So.
You and I have been seeing the same things. Like, expand that so that people can truly bring their gifts. And then you have unbelievable. When you said that, it just brought up, it was a handful of years ago when I was working in a high-tech company and an ink print business. And they were strong, $25 billion company, business. But they were at a flat market. And they wanted to do better. And what did we do? We went in and used an appreciative psychology, a very positive, looking at how we're all connected. What do we do when we're at our best working together? And we did this work all over the world. And in a year period, we went from 25 billion to 29 billion on a flat market. And people said, how did you do that? It was written up. It was because we appealed to everyone about their gifts, to bring their gifts, and that in unity, when we pull all these together, and that standard of when did it work at its best, you know what? We created a whole new standard. Everybody just expected that, so then they created even higher ones, and that wasn't about like depleting people. Oh, we got to produce more. Instead, it was like, wow, I get to bring more of my gift here. And it was just so unbelievably powerful that to this day, I know some of the people who are now still in that company have gone to other companies, and everywhere they're just taking this in their homes as well as in the workplace. Let's focus on what we can do together, what we can create, where I can step to the side too when you need to be playing your gifts and using those, and then mine come in, because there's more than enough space and time for us to all give and receive.
I love that. And I'm so thrilled that you talked about it's not just about one gift overshadowing the other, that there's more than enough space, and that doesn't matter who brings what when. It all works. I'm such a fan of that. So, well, my goodness, when you and I get together, time flies. I need to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll be right back with the fourth sacred gift, the gift of hope. And then also we'll learn more about the book and how you can get a hold of Dr. Anita Sanchez. We'll be right back.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio. I'm your host, Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and we've had the pleasure of having Dr. Anita Sanchez. I'm so thrilled. She is the #1 international bestseller of The 4 Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times. It just launched this week. This is so needed during times of great change. And now, Anita, talk to us about the gift of hope. I think sometimes when we have an autoimmune condition, it can be hard to stay hopeful.
Yes, that is true. And so what you're hitting on there is that hope is a choice.
Bravo.
So when I hear people say, oh, you're taking away their hope, that does not make sense to me. No one can take away your hope because it is an energy source. It is something. It's an inner kind of certainty that there is something bigger than what immediately can be seen. So in some ways, this 4th gift represents the connection that isn't always sensed by our 5 senses of our connection between people, earth, and spirit. So it is possible. And I think about this growing up. I started school very early in college at 16. Not much money, so it was like, okay, father's gone. Mother only has so much money. Like, I was good in school, so get to college right away. And I remember people saying to me when they looked at me, and I do look very indigenous. I do look like my Aztecan grandmother and Mexican. And they would say, well, you can't dream that big. They would literally tell me that. Like, you can't do that. Like, do you know who you are? And I remember that when I'd hear that, these little doubts. And I think when people have illnesses, people will say to them, well, you can't do that. And that danger of doubt is bad.
Even doctors.
Oh, my gosh.
Even the medical professionals say, well, here is what you can expect, which is very similar to saying you can't do that. You'll end up here, you'll end up there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I think we take, they're of good intent, and they're doing the best with the medicine they have, the knowledge they have, and hopefully in most arenas it's getting better. However, we also know placebo effect has been in existence, we've known for at least 80 years now, that, a third of people just get well and we don't know why.
Yep.
And then it's even greater than that on some things that said, well, there's no way out of this. The end is in sight. And it's like, wait a minute. I've had doctors tell me when I went to therapists in my later teens, and I told them about my early childhood and things, and I can't believe at least 3/4 of them would say things like, well, you should be dead. People who've gone through that, there's no way. And I just look at them, and even at that young, I already knew something was wrong there. And I just say, I know you mean probably something helpful to me when you say that, but please don't ever say that to anybody. Instead, say, wow, are you resilient? Are you just a model for all of us to see how, despite facts to the contrary, one can rise above, through, under, over, whatever it is, and have life? I think that danger of doubt is a big one, and I just believe that this hope is something. It's an energy source, but it requires a very important ingredient, and it has to be in action. So if you look right now, people are writing about hope, and some people are saying, oh, forget that hope stuff. That's just sitting back and just, no, we're talking about an energy source. And when you have an energy source like hope, you are fortified and you move. It like pulls you to be in positive action. It's like your GPS. It doesn't work unless you move. You can sit there and go, well, why doesn't it tell me where to go? Well, you have to move. Okay, you have to move into being healed. You have to move into forgiving the unforgivable. You have to move in connection with all there is here to help you in unity to create the happy, whole life for yourself and all of us, the me and the we. So this power of hope in action is just such a powerful gift.
It is. And I've always said to people that they say, well, stop living in fairyland or something about this idea of hope. And to me, hope is the energy source and faith is the action. I have hope.
Yes.
And the only way to get things moving forward is to have faith that this hope, this energy source will propel me forward. So I see hope and faith as what I call my kissing cousins. When I take actions that people are like, even when I wrote Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, first fiction book, children's book, rhyming, all of that, where all my other books are nonfiction, entirely different kind of writing. And I had so many like, oh, that's a cute idea. And that was, in a way, I sort of felt that was sort of like a naysayer or something,
No, it's a beautiful book. Thank goodness you gave it to the world.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so thrilled with how it's been received and the support and just encouragement I've gotten since the book is out there. It's been fantastic. But to me, this idea of you have to, once you have the hope and you really understand the hope, you've got that. It's that part. The most important part is the taking action. As you've said, you don't have to know the whole picture. You just have to know, like, what's next.
Yeah, the how is people get caught up. Like, how are you going to do that? And that brings in the naysayers. The reality is hope, to keep hope alive means I really encourage everyone, and I've done this with my boys and myself, when I start to grab onto that doubt thing, it's like, wait a minute, you need to do a little bit of dreaming here, Anita. You need to do a little bit of visioning. You need to sit still and just let the imagination go, not these boundaries, these false boundaries that are here. And then when you do that, they pull you. And I was a little girl at 4, I remember a dream that's been all my life. And when I went to kindergarten, they asked, what are you going to be when you grow up? And people drew, doctors, mommies, nurses, and all those. And I drew a picture of the earth and stick people, all different color and sizes. And we had our hands on each other's heart. And I remember standing up in front of the group going, this is me. And we're da-da-da. And all the kids laughed. And the teacher said, put away the crayons. But already at age 5 in kindergarten, I knew that was what I was going to be when I grew up. Now, a lot of people, I didn't have any more words for it than that, but lo and behold, by 22, I'm in Singapore, I'm working all over the world, I'm in corporation, I'm connecting people across all different, how could I have known that? How could anyone said this young Mexican Aztecan girl in the inner city of Kansas City who's poor would ever end up doing that? And that's where these gifts, this unity, the power of that, the healing, the keep forgiving the unforgivable, because what that means, it's all fueled by this hope, because we know at our very core we are all sacred and we are all meant to thrive, not to suffer. No needless suffering. So I'm not Pollyanna. I know there will be suffering. We all do have to die eventually. That is true. However, there is so much love and life to be had before our energy time is up. And to use it up in hopelessness, in doubt, in fear, in anger, in separation, no. Your listeners, you and I, we know all of us deserve better. And we not only deserve better, but when we are treating ourselves with the hope in action, we also treat other beings, nature, other animals and stuff, the fish in our seas. We are better caretakers and being in relation to all of them too. It's a wonderful vision when you follow through whatever it is that any of your listeners have in their hearts. It's like fuel that, dream, imagine, get quiet. Allow it to pull you forward.
As we always say here on the Autoimmune Hour, we're not survivors, we're thrivers. And that to me, that is a great big difference when someone says something about those types of things, because regardless of where we are, we always know there's more. So Oh, my goodness. I want to make sure we have enough time. We're just about out of time. Share with us all about how to find the 4 sacred gifts and more about your work, Anita.
Well, to find me, you can just go to forsacredgifts.com. That is forsacredgifts.com. And that will have all sorts of things about buttons there that you can punch to find the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever it is that we wish to find it. But also on there is the button where you can push to learn more about me and my work, both in the corporate world as well as in communities, as well as my journeys into the Amazon rainforest for the Pachamama Alliance that I do once a year in the summer. I appreciate you giving me the time to do that, but I really hope that people take that step to learn more about these gifts and introduce them to their life, because what I have found now for the 22 years that I have been using it in my life, it has, what can I say? Yeah, I still get sad and sometimes suffer, but you know what? It doesn't last very long because I just have these gifts available to me to use, and I just have my energy to create the life that I know I'm meant for and meant to support others around me. That's the good life. So there's no regrets and just lots of gratitude.
Delighted to have you here. We'll have you back. Everyone, have a great weekend, whatever your adventures. And as always, enjoy.
The information provided on lifeinterruptedradio.com is for educational purposes only. What you hear, read, and see on Life Interrupted Radio is based on experience only. The information presented here should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on Life Interrupted Radio. You've been listening to Life Interrupted Radio. To learn more, listen to other shows, and gain free resources that can help empower your life, be sure to stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com.